Okay, so now let's get to the part where we talk about the factors, the inputs and the outputs of photosynthesis, right? So the first bit that you're going to be having is just looking at the summary of what we talked about in our prior lesson about photosynthesis. We say that photosynthesis is the process by which green plants, right, use sunlight energy to combine carbon dioxide and water to produce carbohydrates, right, and give out oxygen as a byproduct, right? So the diagram below shows the experiments and actually the requirements, sorry for that, shows the requirements and the outputs of photosynthesis, right? So we are saying that sunlight is one of the things that you're going to be needing to combine carbon dioxide and water, right? So as to form those two outputs, like carbon dioxide and also oxygen, right? So we get the water from the roots, from the soil. The water is absorbed by the roots and moves by the stem to the leaves. Then the carbon dioxide quickly gets into the leaf through the stomata openings, as you're going to be seeing in a minute. And and the plants get sunlight from sunlight energy using chlorophyll, which is the green pigment that absorbs sunlight, convert it into chemical energy, and then use it to combine carbon dioxide and water to form carbohydrates and give off oxygen as a byproduct, right? So the requirements of photosynthesis is already mentioned. The food making process in plants is called photosynthesis, right? In order for plants to make food or to photosynthesize, it needs to absorb raw materials from the environment. Okay, so these raw materials are water from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air. Take note here, the raw materials of photosynthesis are only two. I'll keep on emphasizing this point because people usually tend to include sunlight as a raw material for photosynthesis, of which it's not. There are only two raw materials for photosynthesis, which are water and carbon dioxide. We get the water from the soil, and they get also the carbon dioxide from the air, right? In turn, the plant produces outputs, we can call them byproducts, right? And these are carbohydrates, which can be in the form of sugars or starch, right? And also oxygen. So two things that are produced during photosynthesis: we have carbohydrates and we also have what? We also have oxygen, right? Then the next thing that you're supposed to be having is the plant also needs a source of energy. Are you seeing what's happening here? We are using some form of energy to combine carbon dioxide and water from the soil, right, to form the outputs. So we're saying that the plant also needs source of energy so as to be able to convert these raw materials into outputs. So this energy comes in the form of light energy from the sun, also known as solar energy, right? So we're saying that for us to get this light energy, we're going to be using chlorophyll. So chlorophyll aids this process by trapping the sunlight. The reason chlorophyll is, you might be wondering why chlorophyll is green and not white per se. Because we know that it is because we know that dull colors, they tend to absorb light, right? And light colors, they reflect light. So chlorophyll is green so as to help in its function of trapping sunlight. So chlorophyll is a dull color because dull colors, they absorb it. You get the point? So chlorophyll aids this process by trapping sunlight. So without one of the raw materials, or even chlorophyll, right, or the source of light, we're saying that the process of photosynthesis cannot take place. So without carbon dioxide, or without water, or without chlorophyll, or without light, we are saying that the process of photosynthesis cannot take place, right? So the presence of starch in a leaf during the starch test, we're going to be talking this in a minute, can be used to prove that a plant is photosynthesizing. So we're saying that for us to see whether there was photosynthesis or not, we're just going to be doing what is called a starch test. We test for the presence of starch on a leaf, right? To show that a plant is photosynthesizing, a starch test is carried out, and if one of the leaves is starch, then it is photosynthesizing. That's basically it, and we can check whether the plant is photosynthesizing or not by checking whether the end products of photosynthesis are present on the leaf, right? If none of the leaves is starch, then the plant is not photosynthesizing, which means there was no food produced, right? Then the next thing that we have is there are several reasons for this. One, it could be the plant does not have any one or more of the inputs required for photosynthesis mentioned above, like there is no carbon dioxide, or there is no water, or there is no chlorophyll, or there is no source of light, right? It could be producing another compound instead of starch, right? For example, grasses make sugars, right? So we need to do now a sugar test to see whether the plant is actually photosynthesized or not, right? Or it could be diseased. Probably the plant is just sick on its own, right? Then the control, we're saying that in the experiment to test for the factors necessary for photosynthesis, one of the plants will have all the conditions necessary for photosynthesis, and this plant is called the control, right? We're going to be having two plants that you're going to be using to test for when you're doing the starch test. One plant is going to be having all the raw materials that you need, and the other is going to be having probably one of the inputs missing, and we call that the test, right? So the control, the test plant. So when talking about the control plant, it is the plant that is going to be having all the conditions necessary for photosynthesis, right? And the test plant is going to be having a missing one. Is going to be having a missing condition that is necessary for photosynthesis to occur, right? So a lot of experiments make use of the control concept. So with a control, the experiment is done in almost the same way, but without the variable that you are testing for, so you can compare the results, right? We're now saying that, for example, if you're testing for the effect of light on photosynthesis, one plant is kept in the dark, and we call that's the test plant. Now, we are saying that the control plant is going to be having all the factors, but the test plant is going to be having is going to be kept in the dark, which means we are avoiding it from accessing any source of light, right? And while the other is left in the light. So the one that is left in the light is the control. The one that is put in the dark is the test, right? The one left in the light is the control, as we are not changing any of its variables, right? That's pretty much it on the part where we are going to, when we were discussing about the part on the inputs of photosynthesis. We say that the raw materials of photosynthesis are what? Just two. We are saying that we need water and we need carbon dioxide, I mean to say. Then the conditions necessary, we're saying that there's supposed to be availability of chlorophyll, the presence of chlorophyll, and the presence of light, right? Those are the conditions necessary. Then the outputs, or the byproducts, we have two, which are carbohydrates and oxygen. Yeah, that's basically it as far as factors, inputs and outputs are concerned. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.